Welcome to episode 93 of the Game Changers. I am your host, Carla, and tonight I'm bringing the heat with none other than who you think it is tonight, than Rick Wolf. Everybody say hi to Rick Wolf. His knowledge and insights are sure to elevate our conversation as I dig into the game behind the game. A huge shout out to the incredible TSA team for backing this mission of amplifying voices and sparking idea. This platform exists because of visionaries like them and listeners like you. Whether you're here for fantasy football gold or simply love stories that shift perspectives, you are in the right place. The Game Changers is more than a podcast, it is a movement. Who is my guest for tonight? My guest is a true titan in the world of fantasy sports and digital media, Rick Wolf. As the founder and president of Full Moon Sports, Rick has spent over 2 decades crafting strategic solutions for some of the biggest names in the sports media, including Sports Illustrated, AOL, and NBC Sports. His visionary leadership helped shape Fantasy Alarm into an industry powerhouse, and his work with Spotlight Sports Group expanded B2B partnership across the fantasy landscape. Rick's influence runs deep. He was a founding board member of the Fantasy Sport and Gaming Association, and his contribution earned him a place in both the Fantasy Sports Hall of Fame and the Fantasy Sports Writers Hall of Fame. From his early days at Sportsline USA to his dynamic radio presence on SiriusXM, Carlton and the Wolfman, Rick has combined business acumen with a passion for play, winning over a dozen expert league titles along the way. He's not just a strategist, he's a storyteller, a connector, and a game changer. Please welcome Rick Wolf. How are you tonight?
Happy to be there. I don't know that I could get a more glorified intro. That was really a little overwhelming. I'm not sure that's me. So, um,
That's
but
you. That's you. It's such an honor to have you tonight, Rick. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
of
I know
course,
how busy you are. So let's start a little bit about your your early
yeah.
days. What inspired you to start Full Moon Sports in 2001, and how did the name come about?
Okay, so I was with IBM first in '89, and I wrote the first software for fantasy baseball with another group, not just me, but a group wrote that. It's called Baseball Manager, and then I was handpicked to help start Sportsline USA in '95. That went public and became CBSSports.com. In 2001, I left CBSSports.com after the public offering and after the ups and downs of the market. It was time to move on, and I was going to start my own consulting company as I had already founded or helped been a founding board member of the FSTA, which is now the FSGA,
Yeah.
and so I decided to name it Full Moon for two reasons. One is it's a euphemism for my name, Wolf, obviously, right?
Yes.
And also it was me sort of mooning the folks that kind of kicked me, forced me out of CBS Sports. So I got to moon them and at the same time then start a company that makes sense for my name.
I love that. So when a door closes, multiple doors open, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean right after that in 2001 I became the chairman of the FSTA at the time. And
Wow.
then I began working with AOL and with Sports Illustrated and with the Major League Baseball, Fox, and others. So I got a chance to work with a lot of other companies and keep pushing that pay attention to fantasy sports. It's going to be big kind of motto.
That's awesome. I love that. So tell me, which early project at Full Moon taught you the most about building partnerships?
Well, Full Moon did a partnership with All Star Stats. They were friends of mine from Prodigy before that, who had a company that ran leagues. Basically, you go to Yahoo and you sign up for a league and you start your own league. They ran leagues for folks, but they were all by in the early days by mail and by fax. And then now they had put it all on the internet and they had built software around it. And it was really a great company. So I got involved with them, and then I created partnerships with the NHL, with MLB, with Fox. We built RotoWorld. We put rotoworld.com out as a destination site, and all of these things were about building partnerships. I was in charge of strategic partnerships for them, and we went from being 500,000 a year company to 3.3 million in 3 years. And
Wow.
2 years after that, we sold the company to NBC Sports.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's crazy. From five, you said, till
five
3 million, 5,000.
500,000 a year to 3.3 million in revenue a year. And
That's
then we
crazy.
sold we sold the company to NBC largely on the rotoworld.com brand, which
Yeah.
now had 5 million people coming to it every month, which was a lot then, and 120 130 million page views every single month. So those page views we could make a small amount of money on, but a company like NBC could sell sponsorships to Mercedes and other places. And then we also created a technology for news, the RotoWorld News. I think it probably originated with RotoWire when they were Roto News in the late 90s, but we took that technology and we ported it over Access Hollywood and over CNBC to do stocks and to do movies and music. So was
That's,
it was it was really it's always about the technology
yes, I
plays.
agree.
So we created a new technology that allowed us to overlay over the news and then ported the news over NBC Universal.
I'm sure that's a pride moment. This is such an amazing moment
No, those are
for you
scary
to do.
moments.
These are
Those are
scary moments,
those are
but look at
unbelievably
what they
scary
did.
moments.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that make or break humans. When NBC
Wow.
tells you you have until August 18th to finish the software for fantasy football, and if you don't, the $20 million deal is off the table,
It's off the table.
then you literally, you know, no offense, but abandon your family for
Yes.
it was more than 10 days of not sleeping and only cold showering in the morning in order to get going again, and working pretty
Uh,
much around the clock for more than 10 days straight in order to close it out.
But look at you now. You did it. You made it, which is really amazing. I was, it was such an honor to meet up with you in Boston last year at the Scottish Bowl. So
Yeah.
that was the first time that we've met. We sat, we spoke a little bit about some of the stuff that you were doing. And I was really intrigued and interested in your work. And I had in mind that I want to bring you to the Game Changers. And then I met you at the expo. So tell me a little bit about, Scott Fishbowl, the expo, and your relationship around with these two different events.
Well, the Scott Fish Bowl is very interesting because they care about children, and I know
Yes.
you care about children deeply too.
Yeah.
So, their original thing was to get toys to kids in Minneapolis for Christmas, and they partnered with Toys for Tots. They still deliver, and more than just in Minneapolis, but in many other areas of the country, toys for kids at the holidays to make sure that kids aren't without that.
Yeah.
Well, I wear bracelets. They simply say "be alive." It's a very simple concept, right? We want to
It
be
is.
breathing every day. We just want to be alive, and I wear those for youth wellness and suicide prevention. And so Scott, I gave money to Scott all the time for his charities. When Scott found out about this charity, and I explained it to him, he added it to the charities that he gives to. And so he's such a great human. And
He
so
is,
I will do
as you are.
anything to help Scott Fish and promote the Scott Fish Bowl because it's not about him. He hasn't had a day off in 7 years. He's just committed to the charitable component of his life, and that completes him. He doesn't need $20 million for him and his family. He just needs to be giving every day, and these are the kinds of people I want to surround myself with.
I love that because we all tend to give and we all tend to do something to our community, but you guys like give so much. And I've been honored that I've been working with Scott for 2 years in a row right now and helping with the Boston Scott Fish Bowl. This is such an honor for me because, like you said, I love kids and I love the concept of Scott Fish. It's everything for them. So this is something
Yes.
really important to me as well. Um, so what's the one unpopular fantasy sports opinion you still stand by?
An unpopular fantasy sports
Unpopular.
opinion.
Yes.
You mean a strategy for playing or something in the business world?
Whatever you want to share. It's fine with
Okay.
me.
The one I'll do both. The one for the
Yes.
business world is um, is if you build it, they will come. Building the best product doesn't always get you the winning results. It's brand and distribution as well. And there'll be a lot of people who are frustrated, but mine's better, but mine's better. Well, yeah, yours might be better, but you also need the strategy and the distribution in order to be successful. And you
Yes.
need and in this industry, you need, either the power of the industry or a lot of money, like DraftKings and FanDuel brought, right? So where I would say Prize Picks and Underdog, the community has been completely behind them from day one. So they're both money and delivering the right strategy. From a strategy perspective for fantasy, don't give me zero running backs ever in fantasy football. Just don't. It's a bad idea. And there's simple math, right? There's 15 bell cows every year, and if you're in a 12-team league and you get 3 of them, that means some team will have 0 and won't be able to compete, and other teams will only have 1, and it'll give you a concerted advantage in both the second running back and the flex spot. So no 0 running backs for me ever.
No, I love that. Not everybody will go for that, but I love that. Tell me, Rick, what's the funniest behind the scene radio blooper you've ever had on SiriusXM?
Oh, I don't know. There's so many. Look, in the first 8 years of Colton and the Wolfman from 2012 to 2020, Stacy Stern was also in the booth with us every week for at least about half the show. And so the 3 of us would make sophomoric humor jokes all the time. And the one that was, and she would recognize him for the most part. She has an amazing sense of humor. So the one that I liked the best was, she said we were joining the League of Alternative Baseball Reality, and we were adding her to our team, so that the 3 of us could compete instead of Colton and the Wolfman have been competing in expert leagues to have 20
Yes.
plus 20 plus championships. Um, and so she said, "Oh, I'm so happy to be in labor." And then I'm like, the thing that no
Oh my
woman would
God.
ever say.
Of course not. No one would ever say that. We will not love the labor thing. No way.
Yeah.
I love that.
One
That's a
more
good
one more little
blooper.
story. One other. This is the
Yes, I
our
would
very
love.
very
I love
our
these
very very
stories.
first show of all time is in 2012, April 19th, 2012. And the way the studios work in Sirius is you have to switch the studio, then you have to switch the engineering. You usually have about 6 minutes.
Yes.
So we're in Cousin Bruce's studio. It's an iconic studio in New York, and I'm very excited about being in the studio that has all these cool pictures, and it's huge. And so they're recording something for Cousin Brucey. They switch out. We get in. The engineering doesn't work. Like, it doesn't hook up to the studio properly. So we hear them over the headset telling Kay Adams, who was on the with Kyle Elfrink and Ray Flowers and Kay Adams show, that she's got to stay on. And because they're still trying to, so she comes back from break, and it's supposed to be Colton and the Wolfman, but it's not. It's just Kay Adams by herself. So, so Kay says, "Those of you who are waiting to hear Colton and the Wolfman tonight, I just want to say, I knew those guys would chicken out."
Because of the Wolfman, they're gonna chicken out, huh?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I love it. Rick, I just wanna say that we got a message from Ronnie, your good guy AI. He said that he owes you an email, just still grinding to get ready first, and to tell you, he says hi. So,
Excellent.
welcome to everybody in the chat. And Ronnie just wanted to deliver this message. I wanted to make sure that it's delivered to you.
All right, looking forward to hearing from you, Ronnie.
Yes. As someone inducted into 2 Hall of Fames, not just one,
Yeah.
which induction speech would you rewrite and how?
Well, I would rewrite both of them. No. The I mean the first one, when I get accolades, I'm very short. I actually started it by saying brevity is the soul of wit. I think I was about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm not one to didn't do thank yous for everybody in the world or anything like that. I just kind of riffed for a couple of minutes about the importance of fantasy sports in my life and moved on. In the second one, there was no speech. I was put on the air for 10 minutes, and it was a
Okay.
back and forth between the analysts who I knew very well, Andy Barons, and
I love
uh,
it.
yeah, I love Andy,
Yes.
and we were just really talking about, you know, actually I think we were talking about what's going to happen with AI for because this was just earlier this year, what's going to happen with AI for content creators. So we were just talking about real things. It wasn't really a speech or anything like that. So it's a
That's
great
really good
honor.
though.
It's a great honor.
Yeah, I love that. Two Hall of Fames. That's really a great honor,
Thank
Rick.
you.
What was the single smartest career decision you made in the 1990s?
Probably, I mean, one of the best decisions I made was to leave IBM. I was 10 years an
Yeah.
IBM programmer, and I left to go to a startup. There was a picture just recently posted by Mike Levy of the 20 of us who started Sportsline in summer of '95, and it's 20 brave people who all left their big jobs. Somebody from Apple, somebody from Microsoft, me from
Wow.
IBM, and it was just 20 brave people who just jumped off and followed the vision of Michael Levy, who then got investment from Shaq, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, IBM US West, Netscape, Sun Microsystems, IMG, Kleiner Perkins. And we had a $185 million war chest, and I was able to do things that I never realized were possible. I
Yeah.
literally was just calling my friends, going, "How much you want for your fantasy company?" They'd go, "2 million." I go, "Give you three." Like we were just spending money quickly and buying sports and fantasy sports and data companies and technology companies and then merging them all into what we were doing. And it was just like a big game of Sim City or Sim Business for me. As a game creator, I was a game creator with IBM. So then I got to be able to play it for real. It was really
I mean,
fun.
I get the frustration at this point because you were like trying to bring everything together in just one place. So, like juggling everything. I mean,
But I
I
mean,
juggle.
I had a very,
It's
very safe IBM job after 10 years. My pension was vested. I literally could have just done that for 20 more years. Had a had a great life and retired in upstate New York. But that sort of brave move to give up all of that and go
yeah.
to a startup makes my whole career. And it makes I always say to people, I say it would be good. It would have been good. I could have rode the merry-go-round, but instead I got to ride the biggest roller coaster ever. So
Wow. Crazy. So you were talking about calling sports spaces and giving them money. But what's one negotiation tactic you use that sounds simple but works every time? Is it the money or something else that you used?
now, the simplest way to make partnerships is to sit down, frankly discuss exactly what each person needs, and then never think about whether you're giving too much or too little. And
Yeah,
then, and then when you feel like you're done, ask the other person, "Are we done?" It's very simple. Just say, "Are we done?" And if you're not done, keep discussing until you are done. Right. So a lot of people get hung up
easy.
with, I want to get the best deal." And I've worked at a lot of big companies, NBC and CBS, and I've worked with a
Yes.
lot of deal makers who want the perfect deal, and we end up blowing up really, really good deals for negotiating points that aren't that important. So that's what I say. Make sure you think about the other person's insight, and then the words "Are we done?" is the closer.
Put everything on the table and be honest with everything.
It comes
That's
from
really great.
it comes from a 1936 book called The Fountainhead
Yes.
by Ayn Rand, and it's about giving of yourself in all that you're good at and that you care about and that your company does well, and then and not worrying about what what comes back for that, and then that other person who you're working with will then make that happen.
You know, I've seen a lot of business men or business women, they always say, I'm that person, respect me, and stuff like that. And when I see you and talk to you, you don't have to tell me that. I know how well centered and well, like, you're so much like you know everything and you make
It's a lot.
people feel welcome and respected and you don't ask for respect. It's something that people do because you already have it. What can you tell to people that opening new businesses, that they see that as a challenge for others and they demand that instead of just being there for it?
Yeah, one of the most important things is don't think that you know everything, because
Yeah.
almost every single person I meet, from like if I give $5 to a homeless person, I ask them a few questions. Like I
Yes.
can learn something from every single person that I meet on any given day, and then
100%.
take and turn that information into something that's actionable for you to make yourself better, or to make a deal better, or to make a company better, or to give advice to somebody that you're is in your sphere. So to me, like it sounds cliche, but it's learn, 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 learn.
Yes.
The more you can learn, the more you can give.
100%. Tell me, Rick, which fantasy sports trend today would have surprised you in 1998?
I think that I think this the sweeps trend, the playing for points trend,
Yes.
that would have surprised me, because in 1998 when people were playing, they were either playing for a small amount of money or they were playing for bragging rights, and they didn't need points and massive gamification. If you did that, you were going to go play Zelda, or you'd be playing Call of Duty with your friends,
Yeah.
not not fantasy sports or even sports betting. um, in the late 90s and early 2000s, sports betting was legal, if you will. It was all offshore from Costa Rica companies, MVP Sportsbook, Bodog, and others. But major media companies, including CBS Sports, were
Yes.
sending their customers there in exchange for the same kind of thing that's going on now. The government cracked down on Google and Microsoft, and the companies that were doing the advertising and sending, CBS and Sporting News, were the two biggest that got fines. But the government gave them fines in 2005 or six for Sporting News, and then 2008 for Google and Microsoft, and that's when it really stopped. That's when now we needed PASPA to be repealed. And in
Yeah.
2009, when that happened, Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey, immediately started with the senator from New Jersey in trying to say that PASPA was unconstitutional. So there's basically been sports betting, except for a small break, where between 2009 and 2018. And so I think that's a confusion that a lot of people have. Like, oh, it's new. Well, it's not new. We use the same tactics we did then too.
Wow.
So and it's the same messages, the same offers, the same deposit bonuses, the same. All of those things are pretty much the same.
Talking about that, how did your fantasy football journey started at the beginning? And who put it, like who gave you that opportunity at the start? Was it a family member or was it
All right.
just you just like falling into it?
All right. I want to say this in a way that's politically correct, but in 1991, I was with Prodigy. We had just started playing rotisserie baseball in 1998. We wanted to start playing fantasy football. There was a thing called Franchise Football League. There was a piece of software that then I was assigned to put up the pieces on Prodigy so people could download it. And 125,000 people downloaded it. So we knew 125,000 leagues downloaded this product play. So I said, I grabbed a couple people in the office. I grabbed my friends who all happened to be lawyers, and I grabbed some of my friends who we used to go to the clubs in Manhattan, and we created the Lawyers and Pretty Boys League, so the Lap League, and
Yes.
that was in 1991. And that league does still exist. I don't play in it anymore, but
Wow.
it still exists, and it's still going strong. But that's how the fantasy football side started. Is I was actually assigned to write the software to have Franchise Football League be downloaded, and then I had to test the software. And while testing the software, I said, "Hey, I already play rotisserie. Why don't we play fantasy football too?"
That's crazy. That's crazy.
4 years
Tell
before the
me,
internet. 4 years before the internet.
oh my God. So tell me, do you like how it was before? Like I heard you would wait on the phone or you would see it in the news or something like that.
Yeah,
Do you still like the way they used to do
those
it before or the way now better?
those were national games. And
Yes.
so I started working for IBM's Prodigy in '86. So we never really had to deal with um, writing in a ledger.
Yes.
I wrote software to do our updates automatically
Yeah.
from the data feeds. So I don't know what it was like for other people
So
to
you
do
knew
that.
but
But
everything ahead of time.
our rotisserie league on Monday mornings, we would get a printout or fax, and then we would meet at Monday at lunch, and we'd have lunch every Monday, and we would do our transactions every Monday, and then somebody would go back to the All Star Stats office and put them in. And so it was very manual, but it included lunch, and I hate to say it out loud, but in those days, every lunch was 3 beers also. So, you
Oh
know,
my
yeah, if you worked for IBM, every day at lunch was 3 beers with lunch or a drink with lunch. Like it was just
I will take that any day for a computer interaction, honestly. I
yeah.
will take that any day. I mean, I love like AI and computers and Zoom and everything, but this year our school brought, I don't know if you know about the under pouches. So the kids will put their phones in
Oh,
it,
yeah, yeah.
their a headpiece and everything, and we lock it.
Hmm.
It's a totally game changer. Totally game
Yeah,
changer.
yeah,
And they're talking to each other.
yeah,
I love that. So I
yeah.
love the human interaction, which is really awesome.
Yeah, I want
Um,
people to look up more than be looking down at
yes.
their phone all the time. I can't tell
Yeah,
you how many people I've had to like move out of the way from because they're not looking ahead; they're just looking at their phone, and they'll take up
right?
both sides of entryway because they don't want to hit the sides.
That's so disrespectful, in my opinion, because
IBM,
we Gen
interruptible beer
Xers are
moment.
different.
You see what somebody wrote? I didn't see their name, but they wrote IBM equals interruptible beer moment. It's good.
Dennis Rodriguez.
Do you
Dennis, come on.
do you know where IBM comes from? It
No.
comes. I mean, it what it. I should say it doesn't. It's International Business Machines, but in the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, they named the computer HAL because it
Yeah.
was one letter backwards from IBM.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's good to know. That's really good to know. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that, Rick. Can you share a time when a failed project later became a key insight?
So many failed projects over the years. That's what makes you figure things out, right? So,
Yes.
um, I can't think of one off the top of my head that resonates hard enough. I would say that for the most part, well, actually, early enough at IBM, we connected presentation with data, and so we were unable to then make white label versions of things. That's
Yeah.
probably the biggest mistake. Then when I got to All Star Stats, I helped them rewrite the software as soon as I got there, so it was white labelable, and then we could make deals with NHL and Fox and MLB, and because we could white label our software for them. But
Yeah.
so I guess that lesson that I learned at IBM was one that I took forward after that. Separate presentation from data when you're writing software.
Nice. What's the wildest fantasy sports wager story you can tell without naming names?
Okay, well, um, going for a rotisserie championship on the 163rd day. So they were playing a playoff game between the Cubs and the Padres. My buddy, partner Glenn Colton, needed a strikeout, but if the strikeout by the pitcher happened, he would have um, lost.
Oh,
And if a out by the hitter was made, he would have lost because the batting average would have gone down and put him past the point. And the hitter walked, and he won. He won by by minuscule amounts of points in both those two categories in order to win the championship.
wow.
And
How, like,
we've had close
wow.
ones like that. Josh Towers pitched a 7 inning shutout on the last day of the season, and random Blue Jays pitcher, and we won because that win and those strikeouts gave us enough to get past in two categories. and we won.
Wow, that's insane. Who's on your team deserves more credit than they get and why?
On my team right now, I mean,
Yes.
I think DK Metcalf doesn't get enough credit. And he had a big week this week, and that's really his first big week this year, and he's going to continue to have them. But he was drafted in the fourth and fifth round, and he'll be top 15 to top 20 wide receiver, and so for me, Metcalf is the guy.
Yes.
There are guys further down the roster, but they're not as interesting for your audience anyway. So
Yeah.
uh,
So tell me, a lot of people this week has been going crazy because of the injuries.
yeah,
And they were telling me that this is the worst year ever for most of them. What are your teams doing this year? And how many
I,
teams you're playing, Rick?
I would say go to ChatGPT and say, show me the injuries for week 3 of 2024, or week 4 for 2024, week 5 for 2024. Every year it's like this. We have 5 or 6
Yes, I
major
agree.
injuries this week. The grind of NFL is really tough after 3 or 4 weeks. People start breaking down. The Tyreek Hill one is particularly bad this week,
I
but
saw it.
there
It was
are
insane.
others. There are quarterback injuries; those always affect everyone on the team. So that may be why people are saying that, because there were 4 quarterback injuries, if you include Fields in week 3. So there have been a lot of quarterback injuries, and I think that is reflective on how people see the injury landscape. But frankly, doing my wager wire pickups this week, there weren't that many backups that I was chasing.
Yes.
I'm honestly waiting, not waiting, uh, not hoping, but waiting for a bigger injury that's going to give bigger playing time to a better talent.
Oh my God. Another bigger injury. That's gonna be insane. That's
No,
wild,
like
Rick.
if a starter gets hurt, and a really really talented, say, second year wide receiver is the fourth wide receiver and now plays 60% of the snaps, that's a guy who's going to be flex every week, right?
I mean,
So
what's yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't have a specific example because it hasn't happened yet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But people out on the waiver wire taking, NWI, Nick Westbrook, Akine, or or Malik Washington. I mean, I don't think these are replacements for Tyreek Hill, and people who
Yeah.
are jumping out and spending hundreds of dollars on Darren Waller are going to have the ups and downs that are Darren Waller. So I
That's
kind of
crazy.
kind of don't think there's a lot. There's as much as everyone is making it out to be.
I mean, what's good for some people is bad for others, and what's bad for others is good for some people. So, injuries are always like plus and minuses in this game, which is really insane. Um, Tell me, how did the sale, or let's talk a little bit about a habit that saved your sanity during long acquisition negotiation. I want to
Prim-
know how you cope with some of the stuff that's going around, because a lot of people nowadays they don't know how to cope. So what's habit saved your sanity during it all?
Primal screaming.
Yeah,
Yeah, just build it up, scream into a pillow. I'm good.
that's it. That's what you do.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's a great.
Really?
It's a great stress reliever. And you know what? It's really great. It was really a great. I was a lot of times I was Mr. Mom. My wife is a physician, and
Yeah,
so when the kids are frustrating, scream into the pillow, and then I'm fine. They don't hear it, and they think Dad's calm again. So
wow.
and the same thing works with whatever works for you.
I
Deep deep
agree.
deep breaths also are. It's very simple, but breathing is good. And then the other thing is to also reinforce that you're doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
then if it's a tough negotiation and someone wants you to go in a different direction, just reinforce to yourself, look, doing the right thing is better than making a mistake here. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. I just say it out loud. Do the right thing.
I love that. But how a person in your position that's having you have a great position. Like in my opinion, I was telling you, it's such an honor to have you tonight on the show. And saying that do the right thing. And you know that you're doing the right thing, but you're getting attacked or from a lot of trolls. How can you deal with that, knowing that you are really doing the right thing?
I'm not good at that. I'm not very good at that. I go back at them. It does build a lot of stress in me, but like yeah, I will just correct people who are if people attack me, then I go right back. And I mean, I had to be a protector of the industry like a dozen times.
Yes.
I mean, and for folks out there, if you want to go to fantasyalarm.com/business, I wrote a 10-part series last summer, which is all of the battles that the fantasy sports and sports betting industry have had in the last 3 decades, and what us as the voice of the industry had to do and sacrifice. And some of the stuff we had to sacrifice in 2016, you know, attacks on my family and threats and unbelievable stuff you wouldn't even believe.
Wow.
So, and in those cases, I didn't allow those people to get away with it at all. I made it
It
public.
came to point of threats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Personal
That's
threats.
insane.
Personal threats, name calling, you know, um, shots at my wife or kids, like bad stuff. And so for people like Peter Shanky and Stacey Stern and Paul Charchian, who maybe there were more people, but we were leading the industry and we were in the middle of it. And I know I personally took a lot of attacks. I saw some on Peter and Paul who handle it much better than I do.
Yeah,
But it makes me angry. Like, what
of
right do
course.
you have? What right do you have to personally attack me for protecting an industry because you believe that single game fantasy, or that you believe that we didn't protect you well enough in the legislature, so now your paid fantasy games are in trouble. Look, it's just wrong.
It is wrong. It is wrong. And nowadays, like we were talking about, the computer and hiding behind, something, especially when you don't know that
Yeah,
person, they just love to attack. But if they see you face to face, they don't even like say anything to you because they are scared. And I do believe a lot of people project nowadays. They
yeah,
do project everything.
yeah.
And
I tell
this
you, I
is
got
disturbing.
3 years later, I got an apology from one of the people, and he said, "But you have to understand, I needed to do that." And I'm like, "No, you didn't need to do that."
No, you didn't.
So look, I just do the best I can and live with the results every day. And that has gotten me not to be mad anymore and not to like go after people who are not right or whatever,
I
or
love that.
attack me. I just do the best I can and live with the results because you can't do better than your best. So if somebody
Yes,
expects you to do better than your best, then that's just ignorance.
it
And
is.
so we're just done with that. We just do the best we can, live with the results.
I love that. I love that you shared that because a lot of people are going through so much right now and they don't know how to deal with it. So I do appreciate that, Rick. Tell me, which radio segment always got the biggest reaction and why?
Well, we're two segments we used to do that got good reactions, right? And so one was injuries. We called it "Ouch, Quit It," and it was all done with drops from The Simpsons. And
Yes.
then I did a series not so dissimilar to this for 2 years. We did something I called Forrest Gump, where
Oh,
we brought on. I'm basically the Forrest Gump of the fantasy sports industry. I was in the right rooms at the right time, and things happened. Whether it's you know being with President Kennedy or wiping my face and having it be the best T-shirt of all time. So and I would introduce and bring in people like Kay Adams and Stacey Stern and Michael Fabiano, and we brought in actors like Michael
yes.
Rappaport and Jim Belushi, and I just highlighted them. So those were two anchor segments for us on Colton and the Wolfman.
And what was the funniest thing a caller said to you on Colton and the Wolfman?
What was the what?
The funniest thing a caller said to you.
Um, I don't know. We had a lot of interesting callers, but
Yes.
um, some of them I really liked when they would tease Glenn about how serious he is. So anyway, we're
Oh,
very opposites, a very odd couple, and I know I'm not appearing that way tonight because I'm a little bit more serious than usual. But the Wolfman howls and gets silly and does stupid stuff, and Glenn was a former federal prosecutor, and I believe he's America's best lawyer. So he
wow.
would he would make smart, cogent arguments, and then I would poke holes in them that didn't make any sense. And that was sort of the fun of Colton and the Wolfman, which will be
Tell me,
rebooted, by the way, January 1.
Yes, that's
Not
gonna be
not
amazing.
on Sirius XM yet, but we will be rebooting it on a media channel.
Wow, that's gonna be awesome. I love that we're hearing that. We're hearing that first on the
Mhm.
Game Changers.
You are
I love it. Tell me what's the best prank you and Glenn Colton ever pulled on air?
on air, or
Yes.
we pulled much better pranks in college. We pranked each other.
Really?
We
Then
pranked.
then tell me both.
We were college dorm mates. We lived 2 doors away from each other, and
No.
we pulled absolute constant pranks. Um, the the bricking up of the way the doors of our dorm rooms worked is they opened up, and there were closets on both sides.
Yes.
So I was away for the weekend, and I had a single room because I was the resident assistant, and they bricked up the room. So when I opened the door, it was like a dead thing of bricks, and I had to break through the bricks to get into my bedroom. And I followed that up with buying 25 alarm clocks and setting them all a half an hour apart and hiding them in his room,
No.
and then leaving out 3:30 and 5:30. So he would just continue to look for that for the rest of the night.
Oh my God. That's a good one though. I love this prank. That's a good one. Anything on air you did or no?
I mean, off the top of my head, I mean it's hard to think of 12 years, but there were prank after pranks. They did a lot of stuff like Glenn did a lot of surprising me for every time my birthday came around, there would be a birthday show that I didn't know about, which was very nice. And mystery guests.
Yes.
I had his son on one time. He didn't know his son was coming on. He was an analyst for RotoWire. So just the simple stuff, really.
Yeah,
So
I love that. So I want to ask you a different question right now. Is if fantasy sports were a cuisine, what would it taste like and why?
okay, so um, there was a guy who used to work for Fantasy Alarm who I used to call the fantasy chef because he actually was a chef, and I convinced him to turn
Never
his
heard of that.
articles into recipes. Here's your recipe for success. There.
Really?
So, but for me, there's nothing better than a good fettuccine alfredo because it's filling
Oh,
like fantasy sports is. It's tasty. Tap
yes.
that up with a New York cheesecake afterwards, and you've got the fattest meal you possibly can. And fantasy is about indulgence, and it's about living life big. So I say that's my meal.
I love that. That's my meal too. Whenever I go, I really do. Did you ever got any like strange fan mail? Was it funny? Was it we're not gonna talk about the scary stuff, but was it funny? Was it weird? Like something strange that you ever received from a fan?
Yeah, I mean, I've received a lot of heartfelt stuff. I've also received a lot of how dare you say that on the air kind of stuff. That just normally happens, I think.
Yes.
Um, but the funniest thing that I like from a customer was we had him on the air and he explained his team name, which was all an acronym, and it was from something Harry Carey had said during a Cubs game when the kiss cam kept catching two people kissing all the time, and so his acronym was he kissed her on the strikes and she kissed him on the. So a very funny thing. He said it on the air, and we couldn't stop laughing. And it was something that Harry Carey said. So like, it's not something I said or made up or he made up, but it actually he said that on our air. So
Oh my God, I can't. No way. What's
that's
happened?
and we gave every guest of ours we gave a call sign because the show was about movies. I don't know if you know that the show was movies and sports and fantasy sports. So
Oh
we had
my
a
God.
Top Gun theme, never leave your wingman, because we were together since college.
Yeah.
And so we gave everybody call signs by using a call sign generator on the internet. So we typed in Howard Bender, who is the fantastic analyst, one of my favorites from Fantasy
Love.
Alarm. He's just a great human too, unbelievable
He
guy,
is.
really funny. Better, he's an amazing comedian too. So,
He is.
but we typed in Howard Bender, and it came up Lieutenant Howard Harry Beaver Bender.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to him right now, Harry Beaver.
So I'm like, we can't get you. We can't. He can't. We got to rerun that, and we're on the air. We got to rerun that. And Glenn goes, Glenn, the conservative one is like, no, that's good. I like that
Of
one.
course, Glenn is gonna like it. Howard is not gonna like it. Glenn will like it for sure. Oh my God. I love Howard. I love Andy. Greg is here too. He's, putting some of his questions. I'm going to go back to them after I finish with a couple
Excellent.
of mine. We have Wendy, Mel, everybody. Cujo, thank you so much, guys, for coming tonight for Rick. I'm sure he's seeing your comments and he appreciates you all tonight. Which celebrity or athlete surprised you by being exceptionally grounded?
Exceptionally grounded.
Yes.
I mean, an athlete that I met.
Yeah.
The most grounded athlete I met is Steven Jackson, a running back for the Los Angeles Rams. It was St. Louis Rams at the time. He was at an event. We were running an event. We were part of the FSA, the Fantasy Sports Association.
Yes.
It was one that was created in order to raise awareness for sponsors. So we hired 5 athletes, and he was one of the athletes who came. And all the other athletes were kind of like staying to themselves and stuff like that. And I had a very frank conversation with him about the X's and O's, and he told me the truth about the X's and O's. So he was great. He's like, I'm like, how do you know which way to go when you come through a hole? Do you juke left? Do you juke right? How do you know? Is there some
Yeah.
way you always do it? And he goes, no, I just look at their jersey numbers. And because I've studied their tendencies, I know exactly which way to go. And I was
Yeah.
like, it just changed the way I thought about football as a heady game instead of
Yes.
just amazing athletes. And they not only have to be smart, have to be physically talented, they have to be mentally talented as well.
Yes. I agree 100%. They go through a lot too. Like
Yeah.
people don't know if you were never an athlete, you don't know what they do. You don't know what they go through. So whoever was a an athlete knows all of this stuff, and I agree with you. Someone is saying that he's been a follower of you. Cujo is saying he's been a
Yeah.
follower of you. How does he not have
Yeah.
more followers?
Yeah.
I think
Colton
he
has
is
twice as
grounded
many.
too, right? You're more grounded too, so you
Colton
don't.
has twice as many. So
Yeah. So I'm gonna show Greg's question so we can read it together. Have you ever had a player take exception with something you said about them on the air?
you an athlete? We have we have
Yes,
we've asked athletes questions and they've gotten mad at us. Yeah. Like
really.
I asked Pete Rose a question. He got pretty mad at me on the air. Uh, and then he started asking me questions about the insides of baseball to try and dress me down a little bit, and he did a very good job of it. I had been a co-host of his in Boca Raton as part of Sportsline in the late '90s. So this was 25 years later, but maybe 2014, I think it was. And yeah, he gave me a good ripping. Yeah. How do you get a guy in from second base with nobody out? I'm like, uh, two sacrifice flies. He's like, no, the first sacrifice fly won't get him in. It's 2 ground balls to second base. And then he started asking me more. That's just one of the questions. Started asking more questions. So, and we had other, I think most of the other people who got upset with us on the air got upset on purpose. Like we had Michael Rappaport in a yelling argument with me. We had Jim Belushi getting loud, and then me doing impressions of Belushi. So yeah, we've had most of the athletes come ready, and also most of the athletes tell us what we can and can't talk about. And
Yes.
since Glenn is America's best lawyer, he crafts the right questions to ask.
Yes, I agree.
So we generally didn't make too many people upset.
That's really good. I love that. Tell me which interview question you wish more podcast hosts ask you.
I wish more podcast hosts would ask me more about my charity.
Yes.
So because it's really my passion. We lose 3,500 people between the ages of 14 and 18 tried to take their own life today, and it's just something that exists. So, and we shouldn't be sad about it. We should tell everybody about it. and we should tell people they're not alone, and so that we can save more lives. I guess I'd probably care more about the charity than I do about fantasy football.
So I did do an event last week about something like your charity. So I do a lot of community service in here, and I'm a Zumba instructor on the side, other than a teacher.
Nice.
And this is something that it's a passion of mine. I give a lot for my community. So let's talk a little bit about your charity then, and tell everybody where they can find the charity, how they can help, and what can you tell us about it?
All right. Well, it's break the hold.
Yes.
It started for Brian T. Holleran, a young man who took his own life in 2018,
Yeah.
and then you can go to breakhold.org. We started with just putting DBT training, dialectic behavior training, into high schools. So it's in your health class, in your 10th grade class. You learn about the banana and the condom, and now you learn about how to get your negative feelings to become positive ones, and know you're
Yes.
not alone. It's simple things. For me, it's just shoulders back and a smile, and I feel better, right? Some people it's snapping fingers, some people it's all these things. They teach you to try and find out the things that make you understand that you're powerful and a good human, right? So all of those things are now in 19 schools, and we just got our own 501c away from the Westchester Mental Health Institute, and we're going statewide and then national. So it's just beginning to really pop now. So
I don't know if in Connecticut you have any connections, but I would love if we can talk off air
sure,
about that. And as a teacher, I would love for your charity to be part of my schools as well, because there's a lot of kids and people that they do struggle with that.
yeah,
And
everybody
I
struggles.
would love,
The
yes,
sooner you admit that you struggle, then the sooner you can feel like you're not alone, and the sooner you can feel that you're important, and that everybody needs you in this world.
I
And so,
agree.
and that's how
You're
we
here for a
how we
reason.
be
You
alive.
are here for a reason. I love that. I wanna have one of these and wear it because it's such a huge reminder to be part of that. So I would really love to talk more about it. Um so we talk a lot about public criticism, about high profile mistakes and what happened to you at some point. But do you think men get it less than women nowadays, or it doesn't matter if you're a woman or if you're a female or a male? What do you think about that? Especially that this
Meaning
industry per
getting
se,
getting
it's
what?
more male
Yeah, it's way more
criticism,
male.
like bad criticism.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's unfortunate in our society is oftentimes like because social media pushes
Yes,
people towards sending things towards women that aren't just about their sports knowledge. I think that creates a difference there, right? Now, I
yes,
mean, I guess if you're Jeff Ratcliffe, or you're some handsome guy who's on TV, then maybe you get that also. But in general, that's a problem with our whole society, and that's not just the fantasy sports industry. But we have seen many really really great women analysts, leave the
yes,
industry. So because they just didn't want to deal with the kind of uh, attention, for lack of a better word.
yeah,
Um, and also it depends on why people are becoming analysts, right? You've seen a lot of analysts who then, as they become popular, they don't stay in fantasy, and they move to mainstream sports. And so we've seen that a lot with both male and female talent. It's good when you see someone like Matthew Barry, who's committed his whole life to this and stays with it no matter what. It's good when you see people like Mike Clay who stay with it no matter what.
yes,
And there are a lot of people who probably could have gone mainstream. I mean, couldn't Mike Clay have been Mike Florio? With all that knowledge and all that information, but he stayed in fantasy. And so for me, those are the people who are close to my heart, the people who could have been superstars in mainstream sports, but decided to stay in the smaller pond and be the leaders of our industry. So,
yeah. So Dennis is talking about and I want to really shed the light about that. So Dennis and Fantasy Dog, they've been going back and forth about couple stuff. mental health is really a blessing. I agree 100%. But Dennis was saying that his childhood class, they took their own life. And since then, it was occurred often into his adulthood. So he will definitely support your cause. I would love to really like shine the light on this cause, Rick, and maybe you can share a link with
Sure,
me, and then I can attach it to the podcast so people can know.
of course.
And Dennis continued that um, they were mostly under the age of 25, which we hear a lot of students as well do it. And
The
we
fastest growing segment is 50
yeah,
plus year old men. Is the
yeah,
fastest
lately
growing
it is.
suicide segment.
I agree.
So
So we all feel for you. We're sorry that you are experiencing that, you guys. But thank you for sharing. These stories can help save someone's life.
and you're not
100%.
you're not alone.
Yeah,
As I tell this, and you see me intentionally smile and put my shoulders back. That's me like not feeling bad, right? I'm trying not to
yeah,
feel bad, and we shouldn't. And every time I tell this to somebody, they're like, "Oh, weekend before the prom, so a good close friend of mine took his own life or her own life, and oh, when I was in college, so a lot of people have a story, and that means you're not alone, and that
yes,
means that you can more freely talk about it because almost everybody understands and almost everybody has a story.
100%. Some of my students did it. A good friend of ours did it, and we celebrate their life and we celebrate that they existed at this point in our life. That's what we need to do and move forward and help others navigate that. That's the most important thing. Um, Tell me what let's do something else a little bit like maybe funny or something that can take us a little bit off this. Um, Tell me, Rick, like if you want to go out and sit with someone really important, maybe someone who passed away and or someone that
Hmm.
like now and you never sat with them before, who
Yeah.
would it be? Who would you would go to lunch with?
Well, my hero, my lifetime hero, is Hank Aaron. And so you see
Yes,
him back there. Oh, maybe you don't because of the light, but hitting his 715th home run there. But it was what he did after that that was
yes,
the most important in raising the elevation and being one of the most powerful baseball executives after that through sort of quiet gracefulness. I call him the reluctant activist
yeah,
because while he was going through, becoming the home run king, he got 650,000 death letters in that offseason. He was covered by more FBI and police than the president. And when he hit the home run, he came across the plate and they interviewed him. They were interviewing him on the field as he was hugging his mother. And they said, "How do you feel at this moment? You've just broken the record of an iconic star." And he said, "I feel relieved." And
wow,
so I did have a chance to meet him for only a moment. He sat back to back to me at an award show when Bud Selig was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and Hank Aaron was doing the speech to give him away, which I thought it would be the other way around. Like Bud Selig should be giving Hank Aaron a Lifetime Achievement Award. But I did get a chance to meet him for a second because my friend forced it. So he's like, "I got to introduce you." So he says,
that's
says,
awesome
"Hank,
though.
I want to introduce you to Rick Wolf. Rick Wolf is one of the guys who helped popularize fantasy baseball. He didn't
Yes,
invent it, but he helped popularize it." And Hank says, "Thank you very much for what you did." Shook my hand, and I started crying. Like I literally just started crying, like as I
wow,
couldn't.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So he's the man, Hank Aaron. What he did for the racial injustice, and we still have some of these things coming back now. And but he was a silent activist, a quiet one who just did it with his day to day activities.
Greg have another question for you. He's asking what fantasy analyst that you hired are you most proud of their growth from day one until today?
Well, I didn't officially hire Matthew Berry. He was hired by somebody who worked for me. But of course, I'm very proud of what he's done to pioneer the industry and really popularize it. When he took his company to ESPN and he forced the pressure to put him on air, and then he was so great that they couldn't take him off. That's a seminal moment for the popularization of fantasy sports. The other one that I'm really, really proud of that nobody knows about because they probably don't think about him as a fantasy guy is Greg Rosenthal from the NFL Network. He's a fantastic analyst, a hard worker, a good studier. He did 120 NFL player updates every single day in the early 2000s. He was cranking
Wow.
through every single piece of news on every newspaper and then writing about it in a prolific manner. He was kind, nice, sensitive, smart. He's a great human being, and now he's a broadcast star for NFL Network. So
Okay, so
probably the two of them.
taking notes right now. Matthew Berry and I'm gonna talk to you and you're gonna connect me with all of them so I can bring them on the game changers. Like,
Okay. Okay. It starts with Scott Engel, so hired as the first fantasy
I
writer for
love
CBS
Scott.
Sports. So I
Yeah.
went into a newsroom of 40 guys who worked for me, who all were writing about different teams and stuff like that. He was writing about the Seattle teams, and I said,
Wow.
who wants to be the first fantasy writer for CBS Sports? And Scott goes, I'll do that. And so there was no interview process or anything. I'm like, you're up. And then
Wow.
and then he did a great job in pioneering that for CBSSports.com.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I love Scott Angle as well. So I saw you at the expo this year.
Yeah.
Was it your first year that you came to the expo?
Yes. Yes. My first time there. Love Bob Lung. He's a good person. His consistency report is an underrated piece of material for fantasy football. It's just a good, fun way for people to get together and blow off a little bit of steam and talk about football.
I
All
agree
like-minded people.
100%. So because you just came for the first year, are you planning on coming back next year for the expo?
I'm not sure. It almost always falls on my birthday, and sadly,
Happy birthday.
someone has passed on my birthday every year for the last
Oh,
3 years. My
I'm sorry.
stepsister passed away while I was there, so
I'm so
I'm
sorry
not
for your
I'm
loss.
not sure. I'm not sure if we'll attend again next year.
Yeah, would love to see you if you attend. That would be really really amazing because I really like the community. It has become a family, honestly. When we go to the expo, this is
Yeah.
something that I look forward every single year. I don't play myself fantasy football, but I do love talking about fantasy football with everybody. So it has become something that I wait for it year after year. Um,
We have an introduction
Ojo,
package for you that Greg Kellogg can probably give you. Like you can get started now. You can get started. You can get started next year. You can play.
I'm so busy. That's the problem. If I don't, I'm someone that's always want to do my best in everything. If I don't have the time, I don't want to put myself into it. Does it make
All right. Well,
sense?
then you don't get to have the fun either. But there's not a lot
Yeah,
of time. There's not a lot of time in fantasy football. Fantasy baseball is a grind.
yeah.
But fantasy football doesn't take that long. You take a look on Tuesday afternoons, make some waiver picks, set a lineup on Thursday, and you're done.
I wake up from 5 o'clock in the morning. I finish at 10 o'clock at night. So I'm like, my days are. That's why, really, my days are crazy because I do help a lot in the community. So that's part of it. It's just it's insane. But let's go to one question that Cujo is asking. Speaking of Matthew Berry, why did he go to NBC and where he's giving out fantasy advice, but then his segment on Sunday night football is when the game have already all been played.
I can't look. Rick Cordella was with me at Roto World. He's now the president of NBC Sports. We were very, very good friends. You could say I hired him at Roto World, so you could say I started his career. But I can't speak to what Matthew or NBC Sports does there. I mean, thankfully he is on the broadcast on Sunday Night Football because he's incredibly entertaining and fun, and
Yes.
he shines fantasy light on it. So um, I I think it's great that he has that, and he also has a Peacock show. I think it's every day or almost every day during the week. So there's lots of times to see Matthew give his advice. His advice is good and well researched. Maybe the hardest working guy in fantasy sports.
Yes.
Researches tirelessly and comes up with tidbits. So, look, I think we're lucky to have him on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. So Rick, we're almost done with the show. I really don't want to stop asking you questions because you're such an amazing person that have a lot of
Thank you.
informations that I want to really get to know you more. But I do have a couple more questions to ask you. One is if you could leave one legacy for the next generation in fantasy sports, what would it be and why would it be that?
Well, it would be. I think I said it off air. It would be fun is the best thing to have, and think of fantasy sports as a mini vacation from life. That's how it started for me. I mean, I know I wrote the software in '89, but when I really started playing, it was just had kids and starting to that life. And when the kids would go to sleep, I'd get up and I would see a home run. David Wright hits a home run. I go, whoa! It's always positive. So fantasy sports is always positive. There's no negatives in it except for the injuries part. But for the most part, you can look at your box score every single night or your box scores on Sundays, and all you have is touchdowns and yards, and it's fun.
Yeah. That's really cool. I'm just trying to put everybody's comment at this point. But I do have one more question. And this question, especially Mal, she waits for it. So I ask all my guests on the show, Rick, if they have any secret they never spoke of before, they want to share it on the podcast, or something that they did at an early age when they never spoke of and they want to share it on my podcast tonight.
Okay, so you want me to share a secret? Okay. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. What do I got? What do I got? Well, that's a tough one because I'm sure the statute of limitations is done on the laws that I broke, but I'm not sure that I want to admit to law breaking on the air. So
Listen,
all right,
and he said
I'll
something,
listen to.
everybody.
All right, I'll admit to one. In high school I was a um, you know ranked in the county, ranked in the state cross country runner,
Yes.
and on our course there was a giant hill. And on that hill, the day of a race, I would go and place rocks into the ground so that they matched my stride. So that when I got there, I could get up it in 10 seconds instead of 40, 35. And I could take a 25-second lead. And I never lost a dual meet in high school. That's a big
Look at
secret.
you, Rick.
That's a big secret, right? I'm a cheater.
Listen, we all did something when we were kids.
My friends called it
I love
strategy.
it.
My friends called it strategy. No,
That's a
I was a senior in
strategy
high
of
school.
cheating.
No, we went. I had two other friends, and we went and literally with pick shovels, like garden shovels, and
Yes.
plugged rocks in that were strong enough to hold my weight
Oh my
exactly,
God.
exactly up, so that they would hit my stride and not anybody else's stride, and then
I love it.
crush
I
it.
hope my students will not hear it though.
It is cheating, fantasy dog. You're right. It's cheating.
Stop,
I
fantasy
was
dog.
supposed to admit it. I was supposed to admit a secret. I'm sure you have deeper secrets than that. I just don't. I'm with the same girl
That's
for
our
30 years.
secret. We will never
I
share
don't
it with
have any cheating
anybody.
secrets. I don't have any of those fun stuff. I have cheating in high school track events.
No, I love that. Rick, I cannot thank you enough, but please, before I wrap up, can you let our listeners know how they can connect with you online and stay updated with your work?
Yeah.
And we're gonna make sure to post your link so they can donate as well.
Okay. Excellent. So, like Full Moon, what you talked about is at fullmoonws.com. And the new company we started in May with my buddy Ed Bunnell is at Game Day Sports Network, gamedaysn.com. And then you can find Break the Hold at breakhold.org.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And thank you again, Rick, for being here on the show. Thank you for joining me for the episode of The Game Changers. I hope today's conversation gave you a fresh perspective, not just on fantasy football, but on the game of life. Mark your calendar. Next week, I have Dan Mader. He's coming on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Big thank you for JC for his behind the scene magic and to the Powerhouse team at TSA for making this platform possible. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on social media. Until next time, keep challenging the game and making your mark. This is Carla with Rick Wolf signing off. We wish you all a pleasant evening. Thank you, everybody.